Ayan, so let's move on to our session for tonight. Let's welcome Sir Rickson Alves. Let's give him a warm welcome. And ready ka na ba, sir, for the lecture?
Hello, Jill. Hello, everyone. Good evening po. I think sana ready na.
Ayan, sige, sir. Without further ado, I'll give the floor to you. Happy
Okay.
learning, everyone.
Salamat, Jill. Good evening once again, everyone. My name is Rickson Alves, and this evening we will be talking about organic chemistry. And marami sa atin na nagtitake ng chemistry licensure exam na yung iba, favorite nila ang organic chemistry but others would loathe organic chemistry kapag naririnig nila yung subject matter, no? Kaya ngayong gabi, we plan to have laid out yung foundations or basics ng organic chemistry para kapag tayo ay nagkaroon na ng deep dive dito sa branch ng chemistry na ito for chemistry licensure exam this 2026, we would gain confidence in what we are doing. Ano? Okay. So without further ado, let us start our discussion this evening. As you can see, flashed on screen is the outline of topics to be discussed this evening. We'll talk about the technical definition of organic chemistry as well as the common features of what an organic compound or an organic chemical is. We would also learn how to draw organic structures and we'll take a look at the hybridization patterns, three of the most common hybridization patterns of organic molecules, as well as their bond lengths and bond strengths. We also would want to explore their electronegativity and bond polarity, as well as the most predominant functional groups that we would be encountering in the deep dive of organic chemistry. We would also would want to look at the intermolecular forces of attraction or what we call IMFA as well as their physical properties. Okay? So, meron naman itong guide ng outline of topics as we go along the way. So, unahin natin ang technical definition. So, let's start. Organic chemistry basically is the chemistry of compounds that contain the element carbon. So as we can see, nandito shown on screen ay meron tayong parang schematic diagram in which we can be guided kung ano yung mga uri, general types ng organic compounds. Ang pinaka umbrella terms, two of the most used umbrella terms would be the open chain organic compounds and the closed chain organic compounds. Technically speaking, open chain organic compounds are organic compounds in which the terminal carbon atoms are not joined together. No? In other references, other books, they would call this acyclic organic compounds. Okay? And closed chain organic compounds, on the other hand, are organic compounds in which the terminal carbons are joined together to form a cyclic structure. Okay? So, ang tawag sa kanila ay mga closed chain organic compounds. So, in other books, imbis na open chain at closed chain ang gamitin, ang ginagamit ay acyclic at saka cyclic. Okay? Here, we would encounter the terms alkenes, and alkynes under the open chain organic compounds. These are three of the most common functional groups that are predominantly present in nature, no? And we will be encountering the other functional groups in organic chemistry later on. Okay? Dito naman sa ilalim ng ating closed chain or cyclic organic compounds, we would be encountering homocyclic and heterocyclic compounds. When we say that a compound is homocyclic, these are compounds in which the ring-forming atoms are only carbon. Okay? So, in other books, they would call this carbocyclic compounds kasi ang composition noong ating chain ay puro carbon lamang. Ano? And on the other hand, when we talk about heterocyclic compounds, these are cyclic organic compounds in which at least one heteroatom is present as one of the ring-forming atoms. So ito, meron tayong narinig na bagong term ngayong gabi, most probably, no? Or not, but let us refresh what do we mean by a heteroatom. A heteroatom is an atom other than a carbon or hydrogen. So what are examples? Nitrogen atom, oxygen atom, sulfur atom. These are heteroatoms that can be found in heterocyclic compounds. Furthermore, homocyclic compounds may be classified as alicyclic or aromatic organic compounds. When we say that a compound is alicyclic, they are closed-chain organic compounds whose properties are similar to open-chain aliphatic compounds. Kaya nga ang tawag ay alicyclic compounds because basically the etymology is the combination of the terms aliphatic, ali from aliphatic, and cyclic from the closed chain organic compounds. Meanwhile, aromatic compounds are compounds that are composed of either benzene and other aromatic compounds that chemically behave na meron tayong conjugated pi system, no? Ayan. So, in essence, kung iisipin natin, no, it is fairly odd to say that a whole discipline is devoted to the study of a single element in the periodic table. Kasi bakit carbon, no? Of all atoms or elements in the periodic table, why study one, no? When there are, in fact, more than 100 elements that exist, okay? But it turns out, though, that there are far more organic compounds than any other type. Okay? This is the neat thing about organic chemistry. And later on, natin yung mga iba pang reasons. Okay? So, let us take a look at the effects of organic chemicals in our daily lives. Well, organic chemicals affect virtually every facet of our lives. And because of this reason, it is important for us humans to know how useful they are when we do something about them. There are certain effects of these organic chemicals. We listed down 4 in here. Una ay sa medicine and health because as we know, most drugs are organic compounds. Such compounds are antibiotics, painkillers, vitamins. No? Ano ang concrete examples nito? Aspirin, also known as acetyl salicylic acid. This we take when we would want to relieve ourselves from pain and inflammation. No? In the field of food and nutrition, we know that carbohydrates, proteins, fats, and vitamins are all organic molecules. Emphasis with carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, and nucleic acids. These are what we call macrobiomolecules. Ano? And kung nanood tayo dun sa previous na review series, yung kay Sir Cesar, no, he talked about proteins. No? These organic molecules would provide energy, build tissues, and regulate body processes, which would, if we think about it, are very important in our daily lives because basically, we would want to function properly, kaya maganda dapat ang intake natin daily ng ating mga kinakain ng macrobiomolecules. No? Number 3 would be energy and fuel. Napaka relevant sa ngayong sa araw na ito ngayon and nitong mga nakaraang linggo, nakaraang buwan, ang usaping enerhiya. Ano? Because gasoline, diesel, natural gas, and biofuels are used when it comes to transport. These chemicals are technically hydrocarbons, and actually, they do not just power vehicles. They do not just transport. They move industries. They light our homes. So, napaka-importante din ng organic chemistry sa perspective ng mga businesses at gayon na rin sa ating mga tahanan. Ano? Number 4 would be our daily products and lifestyle. Siguro naman lahat tayo gumagamit ng mga organic chemicals consciously or subconsciously. What are such examples? Examples would be soaps, detergents, perfumes, cosmetics, dyes, pakulay sa buhok, plastics. These are all organic compounds. They are important because they shape our hygiene, our aesthetics, and our convenience in the modern living. No? Ngayon, let us talk about the common features of organic compounds. Well, meron tayong 4 na makikitang common features sa organic compounds. First is that all organic compounds contain carbon atoms and most contain hydrogen atoms. In here, we notice flashed on screen are the most common functional groups in organic chemistry, and as you can see, talagang carbon-containing ang ating organic molecules. And most, if not all of the time, these organic molecules are also hydrogen-containing. Okay? Ayan. So as you can see, methane is a hydrocarbon. It contains a carbon atom and a hydrogen atom. Your alcohol would contain carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Aldehyde, carbon, oxygen, hydrogen as well. Pati yung ating carboxylic acid, ester, ether, ketone. Okay? Your amines and amides, however, they contain carbons, hydrogens, and nitrogens. Okay? But again, the common feature is that all organic compounds contain carbon atoms and most contain hydrogen atoms. Okay? Second common feature would be that all the carbon atoms have 4 bonds. A stable carbon atom is said to be tetravalent. Okay? Bakit? Because if we go back in our general chemistry classes, we would know that the carbon atom is a strict follower of the octet rule. Okay? And because it is a strict follower of the octet rule, and we know for a fact that a bond is composed of 2 electrons, no? Maximum 2 electrons per bond. Yung maximum of 4 bonds with 2 electrons per bond, we know na 8 electrons ang max sa ating carbon atom when it is bonded to other atoms. Okay? Kaya nasasabi natin na tetravalent. Kasi kung maximum of 8 electrons divided by 2, kasi 2 electrons maximum per bond, 8 divided by 4 is 8 divided by 2, is 4. Kaya tetravalent. Okay? Next. We notice right here that pinakita sa atin yung hybridizations. 3 of the most common hybridizations that we will be seeing sa organic chemistry would be sp3, carbons that are sp3 hybridized, sp2 hybridized, and sp hybridized. No? Ngayon, you might ask, Sir, paano po ninyo nadadiagnose very quickly kung ang isang carbon ay sp3, sp2, or sp hybridized? Ang teknikong ginagawa is that kung ilan yung letters noong hybridization, because there are only 3 hybridizations that are very common. So organic chemistry, at least in the context of OrgChem, kasi syempre in organic chemistry, we would be utilizing our other orbitals, no? But in organic chemistry, ang pinaka-concern natin would be the hybridized SNP orbitals. Okay? Ngayon, ang aking shortcut is that establish natin na SNP orbitals lang ang pinag-uusapan natin. Kung ilan yung letters noong hybridization, yun yung magiging kung ilan yung number of bonds doon sa carbon of interest natin, yun yung dapat equal niya yung number of letters nung hybridization natin. So now, you might be asking, Sir, what do you mean by that? Pwede pong pasample. Ganito ang ginagawa ko. So say for example, this is our carbon of interest. Ngayon, say hindi ko alam kung ano ang kanyang hybridization. At ang alam lang natin na hybridization ay sp3, possibilities, sp2, and sp. Ngayon, ang ginagawa ko beforehand ay binibilang ko kung ilang letters meron yung hybridization. No? Number of letters. Tapos ito yung, say, hybridization. Ngayon, I count the number of bonds that are directly attached to your carbon of interest. Because this carbon is attached to 1, 2, 3, 4, and alam natin ang sp, ilang letters yan? 2, sp2, 3, sp3, 4, because this carbon of interest is bonded to 4 atoms. I would claim that this is an sp3 hybridized carbon. Okay? Ganun ang aking ginagawang technique. Sir, yan ba ay applicable sa iba pa nating examples? Let's see. No? So, eto guys, say for example, this is the carbon of interest. The technique is that we do not include the double and triple bonds kasi dapat ang perspective natin ay yung attachments, not the number of bonds. So, say for example, this is equivalent to one bond, and this entire thing is also considered one. Kasi itong carbon doubly bonded to another carbon with 2 hydrogens, isang unit siya na naka-attach doon sa ating carbon of interest. Now, because this is 1, 2, 3, and makikita natin, merong 3 na letters ang sp2, this carbon of interest of ours is deemed to be an sp2 hybridized carbon. Okay? And lastly, when we take a look at this carbon of interest, we take a look at the attachments, number of groups it is directly attached to. Ilan to? 1 and then 2. Because it has 2 direct attachments, group attachments, at ang match natin ay sp, this carbon of interest is said to be sp hybridized. Okay? Ayan. So, ano ang pangatlong common feature? Ang pangatlong common feature ay nabanggit na natin kanina, but let us emphasize that more. Other elements may also be present. And we have said that any atom that is neither a carbon nor hydrogen is called a heteroatom. So guys, what you can see right now on screen is that I have a bare periodic table and ang colored lamang ay yung carbon and hydrogen. Bakit po, sir? Kasi all of those elements that are not colored are considered or are deemed to be heteroatoms. Okay? So, you might ask, sir, so ang helium po ba, ang boron, ang aluminum, ang gallium, ang germanium, and so on and so forth, because they are not colored in this slide, can they be considered heteroatoms? Yes. Kasi again, the technical definition of a heteroatom is any atom that is neither a carbon nor a hydrogen. Okay? And number 4, some compounds have chains of atoms and some compounds have rings. Okay? Ngayon na nakita na natin yung 4 na common features of organic compounds, I suppose you are having this somehow you are having this picture that merong tayo nagkakaroon tayo ng formation ng isip sa ating naiisip natin na kaya pala napakaraming organic compounds because there are many possibilities in which we can form organic compounds. I have seen earlier merong naglapag sa group chat yung phrase na sinabi ay catenation of carbon, correct? No, that is the bonding of a carbon atom with yet another carbon atom. Because of this, carbon lamang kasi ang merong ganitong behavior out of all atoms in the periodic table. And because of that, one could only think na grabe pala ang pwede nating meron tayo basically endless possibilities, no? When it comes to organic chemistry, endless meaning we still operate under the assumptions of, say, the octet rule and other rules established in general chemistry. Baka naman kasi tayo ay mag-drawing na lang ng kung ano-ano pag sinabi natin na the possibilities are endless. Syempre, meron pa rin tayong set of rules na sinusunod. No? And ano yung set of rules na yon? Carbon forms 4 strong bonds with itself and other elements, and it combines to form rings and chains. Okay? Now that we have established this, ayan, makikita natin guys na ang organic chemistry, it can deal with compound as simple as this one is methane, no? CH4, a gas, a hydrocarbon, as complex as this chemical right here, mycotoxin. This is a complex organic biological toxin. Yan ay organic compound din. Napaka-stark ng difference nila when it comes to the size of these two molecules. Yung isa napakaliit, ito napaka-complex, napakalaki. But the point is, there are many possibilities when we talk about organic chemistry. No? Now, for our first question, this integrated first question, mini quiz this evening, we read the question: which type of organic compound contains at least one atom other than carbon, such as nitrogen, oxygen, or sulfur, as part of its ring structure? Paki-type in po sa chat box ang ating magiging sagot. A. Heterocyclic compounds. B. Aromatic compounds. C. Cyclic compounds. D. Alicyclic compounds. Okay? I repeat the question. Which type of organic compound contains at least one atom other than carbon, such as N, O, or S, as part of its ring structure? A. Heterocyclic compounds. B. Aromatic compounds. C. Homocyclic compounds. And D. Alicyclic compounds. Ready na ba? We now reveal the answer. It's letter A, heterocyclic compounds. Very active ang ating mga tao sa Google Meet. Thank you po for your answers. Mukhang tama, naiintindihan so far ang lesson. At tama, ang tawag sa kanila ay mga heterocyclic compounds. Why? Because kapag meron tayong term na hetero, that means different. Ibig sabihin nun, meron tayong different atom other than carbon and hydrogen. Okay? Very good. Next question po. A stable, neutral carbon atom is described as tetravalent. What does this mean in terms of its bonding? A. It forms exactly 4 bonds. B. It forms 2 double bonds. C. It can only bond with other carbon atoms. Or D. It has 4 lone pairs of electrons. I repeat the question. A stable, neutral carbon atom is described as tetravalent. What does this mean in terms of its bonding? Letter A, it forms exactly 4 bonds. B, it forms double bonds, 2 double bonds rather. C, it can only bond with other carbon atoms. And D, it has 4 lone pairs of electrons. Okay? Answers are still incoming from our chat box. Sige guys, lapag na ang inyong answers. Okay. Thank you. Answers in. The correct answer would be, again, letter A, it forms exactly 4 bonds. Kasi from the term itself, tetra, it means meron tayong 4 na valency when it comes to this stable neutral carbon atom. Okay? Very good. Thank you very much for your participation. Let us now proceed to the drawing of our organic structures. Okay? Okay. So, guys, basically, sa organic chemistry, maraming paraan in which we can represent our organic molecules. Okay? As you can see below, I got this from masterorganicchemistry.com. Ito ay unsponsored plug. Even when I was still in my undergraduate years, I used to dwell so much dito sa masterorganicchemistry.com. I also used to use this in our laboratory handouts, no? Kapag kami ay gumagawa ng pre-lab and post-lab, napaka-convenient nito. So you may explore this website after this session. Very helpful, no? uh, going back to our discussion, there are 4 ways of depicting propane, no? Itong apat na to, yung apat na pinaka-common na ginagamit sa organic chemistry. First would be the Lewis structure. Okay? Guys, when we say that we are drawing via Lewis structure, ang ibig sabihin nun, yung raw na electrons attributed doon sa ating individual atoms, i-drawing natin sa i-assign natin sa kanila. No? When we say structural formula, basically ito ay para lamang Lewis structure, pero imbes na 2 bonds ang ipapakita natin doon sa bridging ng dalawang atoms na nagbabond, ay gagamit na tayo ng line bond. No? Kasi one of the drawbacks of the Lewis structure is that medyo nakakalito siya kapag marami na masyadong electrons or dots tayo na nakikita. No? If I am not mistaken, it was Sir August Kekulé who was able to formulate the structure formula, no, of organic compounds para hindi masyadong nakakalito. Okay? Third would be the line diagram, aka the skeletal formula. And fourth would be the condensed formula. We won't be dwelling so much on the first two because what we mainly use in organic chemistry would be the line diagram and the condensed formula. Let us first look at the condensed formula. What are condensed structures? These structures are most often used for compounds having a chain of atoms bonded together. So again, if this is propane, we use the condensed formula by taking a look at this. So guys, tingnan natin, no? Paano tayo nagko-condense ng formula? So halimbawa, ito yung first part ng structural formula, CH3. Ginagroup natin yung mga nakabond directly doon sa ating carbons. And we compress them together para hindi masyadong cluttered. No? So if we take a look at this, pwede natin palang i-compress itong pink na hinulayan natin na portion ng propane sa structural formula and compress it as this one. Okay? Yan. And then, susunod na reference natin, yung pangalawang carbon, meron siyang dalawang hydrogens. And lastly, itong natira na CH3 may be compressed as CH3 like this. Now we have formed the condensed formula. Okay? Ganun lamang kabilis mag-collapse basically ng structural formulas into condensed formulas. Sana hindi tayo masyadong malito kasi ito ay basically pagsisimplify lamang. Okay? Yun ang perspective kaya na-invento yung ating condensed formulae. Okay? Next would be skeletal structures. In other books, in other references, skeletal structures are also called the line diagram or the skeletal formula. These structures are used for organic compounds containing both rings and chains of atoms. Now, syempre, you might ask, Sir, paano po yung line diagram naman ginagawa? Well, the rule is that we omit the hydrogen atoms that are directly attached to our carbon na. Bakit po? Kasi to simplify or declutter further the structure, what we do is we remove the hydrogens that are directly associated or directly attached to the carbons so that mas malinis tignan and mas madaling sundan. Okay? So ngayon, let's take a look at this line diagram, no? Ano ang itsura nito? Again, susundan lang natin ito. Pink, and then orange carbon, and then this is the yellow carbon. Ngayon, you might ask, Sir, paano po pag halimbawa, galing tayo ng line diagram, gusto kong i-convert siya into its structural formula. Mahirap po ata yun kasi syempre, ina-assume lang, no? Well, if we know that our carbons would always follow the octet rule, no? So, let's take this one as an example. Say this is carbon A, carbon B, and carbon C. At gusto natin siyang i-transform into its corresponding structural formula. Anong pwede natin gawin? The first thing that we have to do is draw the catenation of carbons, no? Tatlo na magkakahilera na magkakadikit. Ca, Cb, and Cc. Etong mga pangalan na to ay designations lamang, arbitrary designations, just so nasusundan natin yung ating drawing, okay? Transformation, okay? Yung pag-convert from one structure to the other, okay? Ngayon, guys, tapping in with our previous information ay nagpa-follow ng octet rule, and we know for certain, according to this current work in progress, that carbon A is already bonded to one other atom, namely the carbon B, no? At 4 lamang ang maximum bonds na meron na pwede sa isang carbon atom. Ilan pa ang pwede nating ilagay na hydrogens? Well, 4, yung according to the octet rule, 4, dahil tetravalent ang carbon, 4 minus 1, kasi kita natin directly attached na siya to carbon B, 4 minus 1 would be 3. So, ang Q natin ay, pag once subtracted yung values, pwede tayo maglagay ng 3 hydrogen atoms. Okay? So, ayan. How about carbon B, sir? Again, because carbon is tetravalent, 4 minus, ilan ang ima-minus natin? Because carbon B is directly attached to carbon A and carbon C, magbabawas tayo ng dalawang bonds, 4 minus 2 is 2, so maglalagay tayo ng dalawang hydrogens. Okay? And we repeat the process with carbon C, nakabond na siya directly with carbon B, no? So, ang mangyayari, 4 again, because carbon is tetravalent, minus 1, brought about by your bonding through the carbon C to carbon B bond, resulting to 4 minus 1, 3, maglagay tayo ng 3 hydrogen atoms. And there you have it. Ganon mag-convert from line diagram to structural formula. O ngayon, na meron na tayo ng structural formula, pwede niyang i-collapse yan to be converted into the condensed formula. No? Ngayon, guys, pag nagtanong naman kayo, sir, paano po pag gusto namin gawin yang Lewis structure? Eh di madali lang, yung line bonds na ginawa natin kanina, yung mga dulo kasi niyan, pwede nating i-reimagine as electrons, no? So in essence, yan ang itsura ng ating Lewis structure if we would want to transform the structure, okay, into its corresponding Lewis structure. Okay? So yan, very neat. Nalaman natin ngayon paano mag-transform from Lewis structure to structural formula and vice versa, structural formula to condensed formula to line diagram, and vice versa. Okay? Yan. Okay. So, with that, meron pa po tayo na, meron tayong gustong i-emphasize na mahalagang impormasyon sa ating mga chemists ngayong gabi. Ano? Kasi this is a common pet peeve ng mga ibang chemists, no, kapag nakikita sa ibang students. Ano po iyon? Yun yung fact na kapag meron tayong bonded heteroatoms, oftentimes, pag hindi ganun ka well-versed or well-practiced ang isang estudyante sa pagdodrawing, ito yung kanilang common misconception na ginagawa. Ano? Let us read yung sentence na naka-project on screen. When heteroatoms are bonded to a carbon skeleton, the heteroatom is joined directly to the carbon to which it is bonded. No? So, ngayon, sir, ano po ang ibig sabihin nyo doon? Well, guys, kapag ganon, ang ibig sabihin nun, there are no hydrogen atoms in between. Thus, kapag meron tayo, say for example, na OH group, it is drawn as OH kapag, halimbawa ito, carbon to oxygen, hydroxyl group, COH yung pagkakadrawing sa kanya. Okay? Why? Why is it drawn this way? Because, again, the heteroatom is directly attached or directly linked to your carbon atom. But this is common kapag tayo ay dinadrawing natin yung bond from left to right, yung carbon to oxygen. But ito yung common misconception kasi akala ng iba, dahil OH palagi, OH yung alam nating functional group, no, yung conventional, yung standard way, we would draw yung iba, ang drawing doon sa OH, pag halimbawa, nandito sa right side, OH pa din, di ba? Now, this is wrong. Bakit? Because, again, what we claimed or said a while ago, what we said a while ago is that carbon must be directly attached to your heteroatom. Thus, we should reflect the arrangement of the hydroxyl group from OH to HO, lalo na kapag nasa left side tayo nag-ooperate. Okay? So, imbis na OH, HO dapat ang pagkakasulat. So, as you can see right here, guys, yung ating right side dito, tama lang naman na carbon directly bonded to hydroxyl group, OH. But if you guys notice right here, imbis na OH, HO ang pagkakasulat. Because, again, OH, the hydroxyl group is drawn depending on where it is located. Ang mahalaga, at all times, the carbon is directly attached to the heteroatom in which it was meant to be placed adjacent to it. Okay? Hindi lamang OH ang ating pinag-uusapan usually kapag ganito. Ganon din ang ating heteroatom such as nitrogen from say an amine. So ito, tama naman, NH2 kapag again nasa left to right tayo na convention, but kapag ang drawing natin ay naka-right to left, carbon to nitrogen, again, ang incorrect way of writing this is that naka-NH2C, no? Dapat ito ay naka-draw yung heteroatom naka-attach directly doon sa carbon na ating tinutukoy sa isang organic molecule. Okay? Because it is not rightful to say na or to draw annotate it in such manner na hindi naka-attach directly yung ating heteroatom doon sa carbon. No, magkakamali tayo in terms of hybridization doon. Okay? But guys, in contrast, when carbon appendages are bonded to a carbon skeleton, the hydrogen atoms will be drawn to the right of the carbon to which they are bonded regardless of the location. So if we take a look at this acetone, hindi siya nasisita in most cases kasi we know naman talaga na because carbon is notorious of catenating to other carbon atoms, it is assumed already that the carbon, say this is, di ba ang tawag natin sa functional group na ito ay carbonyl group at ang tawag dito sa carbon ng carbonyl group ay carbonyl carbon, ito ay carbonyl oxygen. Yung ating carbonyl carbon, yung methyl group dito sa sa left side rather, pinakita siya as CH3 and hindi siya mali to say because kapag carbon appendages na ang pinag-uusapan, medyo less restrictive ang chemists, organic chemists at least, when it comes to drawing these. Okay? But just to be sure, ako personally, baka you guys might ask, sir, kayo po ba ganyan kayo mag-drawing, say for example, ng acetone? No. I would draw it in such manner na sinusunod ko rin yung pati pang heteroatoms. Okay? CH3 tapos naka HC3. Because if you take a look at this guys, ito naman, yung manner in which it was drawn ay naka CH3, CH2. Bakit? Kasi magiging pentavalent itong carbon na to kung halimbawa ang pinakita natin ay CH2, CH3 tapos dito naka-attach. Kasi pag in-expand natin guys yung octet, ang makikita natin dyan na bonding ay kung ito yung CH3, 1, 2, 3, tatlong hydrogens, tapos dito, dalawang hydrogens lang, meron kang deficiency of an octet rule dito at meron kang surplus naman dito. So, be very careful guys when you are drawing substituents in your organic compounds because you might have gotten the correct molecular formula but in terms of presenting them on paper, baka kayo ay magkamali. Okay? So, ayun. Hopefully, nalinawan tayo kasi ito ay kadalasan misconception ng mga ating students. Okay? That's why we included this here. Okay. Next. Another question. In structural drawings, what is the primary shorthand representation used for compounds containing both rings and chains of atoms? A. Ball and stick models. B. Lewis structures. C. Skeletal structures. Or D. Condensed structures. I will repeat the question. In structural drawings, what is the primary shorthand representation used for compounds containing both rings and chains of atoms? A. Ball and stick models. B. Lewis structures. C. Skeletal structures. D. Condensed structures. Okay? Answers in. Thank you po sa inyong mga answers. The correct answer is, let's reveal it, it's letter C. Okay? Very good. Letter C. Syempre, guys, nabanggit na natin kanina, yung B, Lewis structures, although they are useful, hindi sila yung primary shorthand representation because it would be very tedious for them, for us to draw them. Okay? Yung condensed structures din, although they are somehow more decluttered compared to our structural formula, pag masyado kasing maraming hydrogen atoms present in the structure, hindi pa rin siya yung preferred natin na primary shorthand representation. No? The most preferred would be the skeletal structures. And dapat pinakauna nating cross out talaga na possibility would be the ball and stick models. Bakit? Kasi usually sa books lang yan pinapakita. And ang mahalaga kasi kapag naka ball and stick models ay yung 3D representation. No? But in here, because nandito pa lang naman tayo sa elementary organic chemistry, most of the time, the skeletal structures would suffice already. Okay? Okay. Next. Please grab your pens and papers because we are to be converting two condensed formulae given to us to a Lewis structure. Okay? Sige nga, guys. Paano kayo nagko-convert ng condensed formula to a Lewis structure katulad ng discuss natin kanina? Palitan natin to. So medyo complicated kapag Lewis structure. Can we do imbes na Lewis structure, let's just do a structural formula rather. Sige nga. Can we do this, guys? Structural formula. Okay? Yan. Okay, so let's do it together. Sir, paano niyo po yan ginagawa? Well, you might ask, guys, Sir, bakit po ganyan yung pagkakatype ninyo? Di ba dapat naka-subscript yan and superscript? Halimbawa kung need ng superscript. Ang perspective kasi nito, guys, ay hindi naman sa ako ay tinamad, pero kasi most of the time, during our time sa chemist licensure exam and sa chemical technician licensure exam, yung format ng ating mga questions ay naka-ganito. Hindi sila pinapakita usually in, say, skeletal form or condensed form. Naka-condensed form sila. So dapat masasanay tayo mag-convert into structural formula, lalo na kung nalilito kayo. No? So ngayon, ang question, ano yung skill dapat na ma-earn natin or ma-impart natin ng upstep sa inyo this evening? Yun yung conversion. And paano nyo po ito ginagawa? Madali lang. So, ang ginagawa ko, guys, ay tinitingnan ko from left to right yung carbons. No? And pinapangalanan ko sila arbitrarily. And because this is the first carbon, I name it carbon A. And ito, ang tawag, guys, by the way, sa CH2 na nakapagitna sa isang structure ay methylene group. Okay? Methylene group. Ngayon, itong methylene group na to, since apat yan, I know na yan ay mag-occupy ng carbon B, carbon B, carbon C, carbon D, carbon E. No? So, carbon B to E. Yan. Ito yun. Tapos, meron tayong carbon F, yung CH, at itong CH na to, may branch yan na dalawa. Ngayon, kahit dalawa, guys, yung branching na yan, yung isang branch, pwedeng sumama pa siya dun sa ating parent chain. So, pwede ako mag-name pa ng carbon G dyan. Pero, inonote mo na, itong si carbon F ay merong, lalagyan ko ng, wag ng asterisk, kasi baka sabihin nyo chiral. Lagyan ko na lang ng star para masabi natin na, meron siyang substituent. No? So, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, meron tayong 7 carbons sa structure. So, gawin natin yon. At ang pinapadrawing sa atin ay structural formula. So, drawing natin yon 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yan. Tama ba? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. O, tapos pangalanan natin A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. And alam natin, guys, na si carbon F, meron siyang isa pang carbon. Pangalanan na lang natin siyang carbon H. Okay? And once na nandyan na yan, since ang hinahanap sa atin ay structural formula, ano ulit ang ating itsura ng structural formula? Ang itsura ng ating structural formula ay yung merong mga hydrogens. So anong itsura nun? Let us supplement ngayon. Guys, again, kapag carbon A, may nakaband ng isa, 4 minus 1, 3. So maglagay tayo ng tatlong hydrogens. Carbon B, meron ng nakaband na carbon A and C. So 4 minus 2 is 2, dalawang hydrogens. Carbon C, nakaband na yung B and D. So 4 minus 2, 2 din. Actually, ganun din sa carbon D at carbon E. No? Ngayon, paano itong carbon G and H? Nakaband sila, tig-isa sa carbon F, 4 minus 1 is 3. So maglalagay tayo ng tatlo. Tatlo rin dito. No? Ngayon, si carbon F, ilan na lang? Okay? Most probably siya yung pinaka-kakaiba dito sa lahat. No? Well, yung carbon F, nakaband na siya sa carbon H, carbon G, and carbon E. 4 minus 1 is 3. So, lalagyan na lang natin siya ng isang hydrogen. And there you have it, guys. Ito yung itsura ng condensed formula to its corresponding structural formula. Okay? Next, paano itong ating letter B? Well, again, pwede nating pangalanan that way, no? So meron ulit tayong A dito. Yung isa, i-mark na natin yung isang carbon kasi substituent yan. Tapos meron tayong B, carbon C, carbon D, carbon D, carbon E. Tapos meron tayong F and G na substituents later on. Okay? Yan. So, paano natin i-drawing? Carbon A, B, C, and D, D and E. Yan. Meron tayong ganyan. Pero, alam natin na si carbon B naka-attach sa isa pang carbon. Okay? Yan. And, yung ating, tama ba? Carbon A. Wait lang, ulitin natin. Carbon A, B, C. Oo, tama naman. A. Ito yung ating carbon A. Tapos yung carbon B natin, rather, yung merong, carbon B natin, yung merong naka-attach na dalawang carbons. So, sobra pala ito. So, ito yung carbon A, yung carbon B, may naka-attach pang isa. Okay, yan. Tapos carbon C, ito yung ating carbon C. Yung ating carbon C, may naka-attach sa kanya na dalawang structures. Ano yung structures na yon? CH2, CH3, ito yon. So, ito yung D and E. And then, maglagay tayong dalawa pa dito. Ito yung F and then G. Hindi natin na pangalanan yung isang carbon dito. Pangalanan na natin siyang carbon H. Okay? Yan. And there you have it, guys. Ginawa ko na lang siyang stick formula para mas madali. Pero kung gusto ninyo na gawin na naka-structural formula, you may do it yourselves at home. Okay? Pwede nyong practicein. And let us reveal the answers. So, ito, may pa-bonus, guys. Pati IUPAC nomenclature, in-include ko na, no? Imbis na Lewis structure ang ginawa ko para mas neat tignan, ako ay stick formula na lamang or line diagram. But since ang hinihingi ay Lewis structure, be very obedient na ganito ang gagawin ninyo. Okay? Yon. Pero kung structural formula, ganito ang gawin ninyo. At kung line diagram, ito ang gagawin ninyo. Pero kung condensed, ito. Although, given na yung condensed. Okay? Ayan. Okay. Let us proceed now with topic about hybridization. Okay? Very common ang hybridization na problems in both chemical technician and chemist licensure exams. So, do your due diligence to study for this kasi sila ay favorite na questions ng Board of Chem kasi they are simple but not all simple things are necessarily easy things. Okay? So, now, what is the technical definition of hybridization? Hybridization is the combination of two or more atomic orbitals to form the same number of hybrid orbitals, each having the same shape and energy. Hopefully guys, medyo nalinawan na kayo or medyo nagkaroon na kayo ng context kung paano tayo nagda-diagnose basically ng hybridization. Ayun, ang shortcut, kung ilan yung number of groups bonded to carbon, yun yung magiging hybridization niya kasi yun yung number of letters dun sa hybridization. Since ang sp3, 1s and 3p, 4 letters yun, 4 groups, 4 letters. Okay? Ang sigurong supplementary information na pinapakita sa atin dito on screen right now would be its bond angle. No? Bond angle of 109.5 is expected kapag meron tayong sp3 hybridization. Anong good example? It would be ethane. Meron tayong CH3CH3. No? Yeah. Next would be sp2 hybridized species such as ethylene. Kapag meron tayong sp2 hybridized species, ang bond angle observed would be 120 degrees. Okay? Ang classic example would be ethylene or ethene. Okay? Common name, ethylene. IUPAC name, ethene. Okay? And again, shortcut because there are 3 letters sa sp2, no? Hybridization, 1s and 2p. 3 letters, merong 3 number of groups bonded to our carbon of interest. Ngayon, baka magtaka pala kayo, sir, ano pong carbon yung pinag-uusapan natin dito, say for example sa ethane? Parehas yan, pangalanan ulit natin arbitrarily as carbon A and carbon B. Parehas yan, sp3 hybridized. As well as your 2 carbons, carbon A and B, say for example in ethylene, both are sp2 hybridized. Okay? Okay, now we proceed with acetylene. No, this is the classic example when we have an sp hybridized molecule. You will notice that both carbons A and B are sp hybridized. Why? Because as an sp hybridized carbon is only it only consists of 2 groups bonded to the carbon of your interest. Okay, so ayan guys, ang bond angle ay 180 degrees. Okay? Ayan. Take note na ang number of bonds or bonds na makikita natin, observed bonding sa dito sa ating sp3 hybridized molecules ay meron tayong isang sigma bond. Sa double bond, dito sa sp2 hybridized molecule, meron kang isang sigma bond and isang pi bond. At dito sa ating sp hybridized molecule, meron kang 1 pi bond and 1 sigma bond and 2 pi bonds. Okay? Yan. Okay, sige nga guys. Kulang ng degrees. Let's read the question. Which hybridization state corresponds to a carbon atom involved in a triple bond with a 180 bond angle? A, sp, B, sp2, C, sp3, D, sp4. Sige nga. I'll read it one more time. Which hybridization state corresponds to a carbon atom involved in a triple bond with a 180-degree bond angle? A, sp, B, sp2, C, sp3, D, sp4. Okay? Answers in. Thank you. Ang dami nagsasagot sa ating chat box. Maraming salamat po sa inyong inputs. Let us reveal the final answer. It's letter A. Very good. Okay? As evidenced by our previous slide na kapag merong 180 degrees, meron tayong sp hybridized molecule. Very good. Thank you guys for your answers. Okay? O, tingnan natin ngayon. Let us do this exercise. What orbitals are used to form each of the carbon-to-carbon and carbon-to-hydrogen bonds in propane? How many sigma bonds are present in this molecule? Let us do this together since hindi siya multiple choice item. Ano? So, just to be organized, ang magandang pwede nating gawin ay pangalanan natin yung ating carbons with designated letters, no? So, ano yung pwedeng gawin? Carbon A, carbon B, and then carbon C. Okay? Ngayon, guys, if you take a look, the first thing that you would do when you approach this kind of problem is that you count how many groups are there directly attached to your carbons. And carbon A, meron siya, naka-attach sa kanya na 1, 2, 3, and then this entire thing is the fourth one. No? Because merong apat na attachments sa carbon A natin. The carbon A is said to be sp3 hybridized. Okay? So, pangalanan natin isa-isa, no? Carbon A is sp3 hybridized. How about carbon B? Carbon B, meron kang 1, first attachment, second attachment. This entire thing is the third attachment. This entire thing is the fourth attachment. So, guys, in essence, because meron tayong 4 attachments with carbon B, it is also sp3 hybridized. Lastly, for carbon C, tulad lamang sa carbon A, meron siyang 1, 2, 3. This entire thing is the fourth attachment. Since may 4 attachments, carbon C is sp3 hybridized as well. Okay? Ngayon, ang tanong ay, what orbitals are used to form each of the carbon-carbon to carbon-to-hydrogen bonds in propane? Ang sagot dyan ay, meron tayo yung carbon A to carbon B ay C sp3 to C sp3. Yung carbon B to C ay C sp3 to C sp3 as well. Tapos, yung number of, hydrogen bonds, ito ay yung carbon A to the 3 hydrogens, dahil symmetrical naman ang molecule, iisa lang yan, ang bonding ay C sp3, H, since hindi nag-undergo ng hybridization, at isang electron lang meron talaga, originally ang ating hydrogen, nandun siya sa ating orbital na yung 1s. No? Kaya ang sagot dito ay 1s. Ganon din sa carbon B to H, C sp3, H1s, and carbon C to H, C sp3, H1s. Okay? Yan. So yun yung orbitals used. Okay? Ano ang susunod na question? How many sigma bonds are present in this molecule? Since sigma bonds ang tinatanong, guys, kung ilan yung number of line bonds na nakikita ninyo, yun yung sagot ng number of sigma bonds. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The answer should be 10. Okay? So that's how we approach this type of problem. Okay? Very common ito. Naka-encounter na ako nung 2024 chemical technician boards na tinatanong ano yung hybridization around this bond. So dapat kayo ay well-versed sa ganitong type of problem. As well as sa chem boards, meron as simple as this question, pwedeng magtanong. Kaya kung sa inyo guys, sayang naman kung yung madadali, hindi nyo makukuha. So hindi naman sa sinasabi kung mag-focus na lang kayo sa madadaling portion, but it is our due diligence to still remember and practice the basics, because sometimes it is the basics that would save us, no? Yung ating score na makukuha sa exam. Okay. Okay, so let us now proceed to bond length and bond strength, no? Napaka-importante din na topic. Bakit? Kasi merong implications yung bond length and bond strength sa ating molecules, no? Ano ang ating mapapansin whenever we scrutinize two of these parameters? As the number of electrons between two nuclei increases, bonds become shorter and stronger. Ano? So if we take a look at this, meron tayong tatlo dito na tatlo na structures. Sorry, bakit ganito ang nakalagay dito? Ito dapat ay carbon to carbon triple bond, carbon to carbon double bond, and carbon to carbon single bond. Okay? As you can see, guys, very evident na kapag meron tayong from a carbon to carbon triple bond to a carbon-carbon single bond, the bond energy would decrease. Bakit? Because it goes without saying that the more number of bonds there are in a given molecule, the stronger the strength of the bond will be. Kasi mas maraming quote-unquote, share na electrons, mas maraming nakakapit dun sa isa't isa. Pero syempre, kapag mas umuunti yung number of bonds, kumakonti yung number of pi bonds, nagiging weaker yung bond energy. But ang inverse na nangyayari doon, ang trade-off basically is that if you have stronger bonds, the nuclei, the distance between the two nuclei of your atoms of interest would decrease, and therefore their bond lengths would decrease kasi mas naglalapit yung nuclei nilang isa't isa. Okay? So, ano ang ating trend na makukuha from this observation? Triple bonds are shorter and stronger than double bonds, in which the double bonds are shorter and stronger than single bonds. Okay? So ito lang yung ating mahalagang i-take note dito sa trend na ito. Okay? So ang isa pa nating tinitingnan usually would be the percent S character. The trend is that as the S character increases, a hybrid orbital holds its electrons closer to the nucleus and the bond becomes shorter and stronger. Parehas lamang ito sa sinasabi natin kanina, ang tinitingnan lamang ay kung meron tayong hybridization na tinitingnan, not just the functional group per se, yung alkyne, alkene, or alkane. Pwede din natin tingnan yung hybridization, CsP3, CsP2, or CsP, since the percentage of our s orbital becomes greater when we increase the bonds, no? From sp3 to sp, the s character increases, and if the s character increases, a hybrid orbital holds its electrons closer to the nucleus, so the bond becomes shorter, but it becomes in effect, it also becomes stronger. Okay, so sige nga, let us answer this question. How does increasing percent S character in a hybrid orbital affect the resulting covalent bond? A, the bond becomes purely ionic. B, the bond becomes longer and weaker. C, the bond angle decreases to 90 degrees. Or letter D, bond becomes shorter and stronger. I will repeat the question. How does increasing percent S character in a hybrid orbital affect the resulting covalent bond? A, the bond becomes purely ionic. B, the bond becomes longer and weaker. C, the bond angle decreases to 90 degrees. Or letter D, the bond becomes shorter and stronger. Okay? Answers in. Maraming salamat po sa mga inyong answers. No? Let us now reveal. The correct answer is letter D. The bond becomes shorter and stronger, as discussed with the previous, according to the previous slide. Okay? How about this question, guys? Okay? Let us answer together. Meron tayong 4 na problems right here, no? Ang tanong, which of the indicated bonds in each pair of the compounds is shorter? So anong pwede natin gawin? Pwede tayong tumingin according to the functional group, yung alkyne, alkene, or alkane, or pwede din yung sp, yung ating hybridization, no? So with letter A, kino-compare itong carbon-to-carbon triple bond versus carbon-to-carbon double bond. Well, syempre guys, again, ang nagiging shorter ay yung mas marami yung number of bonds. So, I think the correct answer should be this carbon right here. This portion right here. Yung carbon-to-carbon triple bond. Okay? Next, sa letter B, ano kaya ang shorter? Yung nitrogen to carbon na single bond or carbon to nitrogen na double bond. Again, according to hybridization, kapag mas maraming bonds, mas umiikli. So I guess the shorter bond would be the carbon to nitrogen double bond. Okay? How about letter C? The carbon-hydrogen na single bond or yung carbon-hydrogen na single bond din, pero yung una, meron siyang neighboring carbonyl group, yung isa may neighboring hydroxyl group. Sige nga guys. Well, the answer should be that hindi lang kasi ang tinitignan palagi natin ay yung bond itself na tinuturo natin or yung bond of interest natin, no? Pwede rin nating tingnan yung adjacent bonds niya because if you take a look at the hybridization of our carbon of interest, yung nagpa-participate doon sa ating bond, itong alcohol na ito, the carbon is sp3 hybridized. Meanwhile, this one, ano yan? Diba? Yan ay formaldehyde or in IUPAC terms, it is methanol. The carbonyl carbon of your methanol or formaldehyde is sp2 hybridized. Because this carbon is sp2 hybridized, it is said that meron yang shorter bond, yung sp2 carbon kumpara sa sp3 carbon. So ano to? Aldehyde. Therefore, ang sagot ay yung nasa left. Okay? And lastly, yung letter D, ano ang shorter bond? Yung NH, parehas silang single bond. Pero again, if we take a look at the adjacent bond, yung carbon to nitrogen bond nila, since merong double bond, yung nasa left, yung sa right, wala. Ito ay sp2 hybridized, ito ay sp3 hybridized. Yung sagot ay yung letter D, left side. So, tingnan nga natin. Yan. Ito ang ating correct answers. Okay? So, there you have it. Ito ang ating exercises about hybridization or percent S character in hybridization. Okay? So now, we proceed to electronegativity and bond polarity. Ano ang meron? Basically, of all the trends in the periodic table, one of the most important trends would be electronegativity. What is electronegativity? Well, technically speaking, electronegativity is a measure of the attraction of an atom for electrons in a bond. Pero in layman's term, or if we want to dumb it down, electronegativity is the parameter in which we can use for it to be an indicator of how much a particular atom wants electrons. Ano? And meron tayong dalawang trends na we take note of kapag pinag-uusapan natin ang electronegativity. Basically, electronegativity increases across a row of periodic table. Ito yun. As the nuclear charge increases, excluding syempre itong noble gases, no? Hindi sila kasama. Next, ano pa ang mapapansin natin or makukuha nating trend from this? The electronegativity decreases down a column of the periodic table as the atomic radius increases because this pushes the valence electrons further from the nucleus. Okay? So yan ang dalawang ating trends. Paki-take note po. So, sagutin nga natin itong following question. According to periodic trends, which direction does electronegativity increase? A, across a row to the right. B, it remains constant for all nonmetals. C, down a column. D, toward the left corner. Sige nga, paki-type in po ang ating answers. A, across a row to the right. B, it remains constant for all nonmetals. C, down a column. D, toward the left corner. Thank you po sa ating answers. Okay, let us reveal. The correct answer is A, across a row to the right. Salamat po sa ating mga participants. Let us now proceed to another concept in electronegativity because EN values are also used to indicate whether the electrons in a bond are equally or unequally shared between two atoms. Kapag ang electronegativity difference ay masyado ng malaki, we will notice that it becomes a polar covalent bond. Pero kapag wala masyadong differences, the bonding electrons shared equally between two atoms is called a non-polar covalent bond. Okay? Yan. So, guys, can we do this? Can we rank the following atoms in order of increasing electronegativity? We label the most electronegative and the most electropositive atom in each group. Can we do that? We rank the following atoms. Sige, kung kaya ninyo, you search for a periodic table or kung hindi naman kaya at meron kayong periodic table yourselves, you may pull it up, no? Tapos, sagutan natin according doon sa trend na ibinigay natin kanina. Okay? Okay? Sana naghahanap na or sana nakikita na. Okay? So, sagutin natin, no? Yung ating letter A. So, paano yung ating letter A? Well, if we take a look at the periodic table, meron pala akong ituturo sa inyo guys. Kasi kaya ako nag-include ng ganitong type of question ay usually nakakalito ito sa board exam, no? Kasi ano ang tawag dito sa ano ang pinapagawa sa ating arrangement? Increasing. Ngayon, kahit sabihin yung increasing or decreasing lang yan, usually nakakalito yan, no? Kasi marami tayong iniisip na mas mahirap pa ng mga bagay, usually napagpapalit natin ng increasing and decreasing. Ako personally, I would admit, nalilito ako sa increasing and decreasing. So ngayon, you might ask, Sir, ano po ang technique na ginagawa ninyo para hindi po kayo makalimot ano ang increasing and decreasing? Ang mnemonic ko guys ay ID. Okay? ID. As in parang ID na sinusuot for school. So sulat ko yung mnemonic. Mnemonic would be ID. Okay? And sir, ano pong meaning ng ID na yan? Ginagawa ko sa kamay ko, dalawa kong kamay, peace sign. Okay? Nakaganto ako palagi kapag nag-exam, no? ID. Tapos, dahil nauuna sa mnemonic yung letter I, yung nasa left side ko will be the increasing symbol, and yung letter D na nasa huli ng mnemonic, siya yung nasa right hand ko, decreasing yun. Okay? Because ito yung ating mnemonic ID, at nauna yung I, dapat ang pagkakasulat ninyo ay nakaganito yung arrows ninyo, no? So dapat ganyan. Okay? Yan. So guys, yung mga sumagot ng naka-decreasing, mali na agad. Okay? So next time, maging mas careful sa pagsasagot noong arrangement. Kasi baka tama kayo ng arrangement pero mali kayo ng symbol, mali na kayo ng sagot, no? Although in the board exam, syempre naka-multiple choice naman kayo, but there is still a tendency na syempre magbi-mix up sila ng naka-increasing at decreasing. Baka tama yung arrangement pero iba yung symbol, magkamali kayo. Please take note of that. Kasi sayang kung ang kamamali nyo lang ay carelessness, hindi yung fact na nagkamali kayo or whatever. Okay? So sige, let us reveal the answer. For letter A, it should be selenium, then sulfur, then oxygen. Ito ay from the column down to up, no? Tapos itong PNaCl, ito ay across naman the periodic table, the increasing, so the least or the most electropositive would be sodium, then phosphorus, and then chlorine. Okay? Ayan. So tingnan nga natin. Yan ang ating correct answers. Thank you sa mga sumasagot. Very good kayo, na nakakatuwa. Mukhang tama ang mga nagiging inputs ninyo so far. Mukhang kahit papano, kayo ay nakakapag-ready na, or at least meron ng background. Hindi na tayo magsa-start from zero for the board exam. Very good kayo. Okay, ito, let's do this together also. Show the direction of the dipole in each bond. Label the atoms with delta plus and delta minus. Paano natin yan gagawin? Papakita ko na kagad. So, guys, syempre, yung merong delta minus, yun yung more electronegative na atom, and yung merong delta positive, yun yung mas electropositive na atom. Okay? Sa AHF, walang duda. Syempre, actually sa periodic table, fluorine is the most electronegative element. Kaya walang duda na ang electronegative or ang merong delta minus ay yung fluorine. Okay? Next, with letter B, eto guys, eto ay beware, nagkakamali usually ang students with items B and C. Bakit? Kasi nasasanay sila na ang palaging electropositive ay carbon, at kung ano man yung heteroatom na kasama niya, yun yung electronegative. But no. Because if we take a look at the periodic table, most especially when it comes to boron and lithium, nasa left side ng carbon ang boron and lithium. And what would that mean? That would mean that carbon is more electronegative than boron and lithium. Kaya kung mapapansin niyo guys, yung negatively charged, yung partially negatively charged dito, yung carbon, hindi yung heteroatom na naka-attach sa kanya directly. Okay? Kaya natin yan inilagay kasi later on, kapag halimbawa kayo ay nag-aral na for higher organic chemistry, hopefully, kayo ay mag-enroll sa UpStep, no? Kasi ako ang mag-handle din ng organic chemistry. We'll talk about Grignard reagents. Mapapansin niyo na kapag we talk about Grignard reagents, ang electropositive would be the metal directly attached to your carbon, while your carbon is the electronegative, naka basically sa kanya naka-designate yung negative charge. Okay? And with letter D, we back to the regular programming. Since chlorine atom is a halogen, it is more electronegative than carbon. So the electropositive charge would be assigned or designated to your carbon, while your chlorine atom would be designated as delta negative. Okay? And guys, pinakita ko na rin yung direction of dipole in each bond. Ito yung tinatawag natin na cross-headed, cross-tailed arrow rather. Yung cross, nakakalito din to, pero ang ginagawa ko lang na palatandaan ay yung cross, kung nasaan yung positively charged, nandun siya, ang tinuturo niya palagi, yung mas electronegative. Kaya nandito yung head, kasi dito na yung electronegative, ito yung electronegative, ito yung electronegative, ito yung electronegative. Okay? Hopefully, kayo ay nakasunod dito sa ating question na ito. Okay? Because again, these are simple questions, but oftentimes, we look past them because they're easy. We label them as easy, and there comes to a point na nagugulat tayo na, hala, nalimutan ko, oo nga pala. Okay? So, wag tayo hopefully we don't get to catch ourselves off guard sa mga simple items. Okay? So ito pala yun guys. To determine whether a molecule has a net dipole, kailangan tignan natin, we use the electronegative differences to identify all of the polar bonds and the directions of the bond dipoles. And number 2, we determine the geometry around individual atoms by counting groups and decide if individual dipoles cancel or reinforce each other in space. Okay? So we take a look at formaldehyde as an example. Okay? Meron niyang vector na pag ganito at pag ganito. Pero meron pa yung vector na carbon to oxygen na pag ganito. Okay? Since etong dalawang to magre-reinforce papunta dito, ang kanyang resultant vector ay pag ganito. And since guys, hindi nag-cancel yung dipole moments, this one is a polar molecule. Aldehyde. This aldehyde is a polar molecule. How about trifluoro, this structure? Is this trifluoroborane, if I'm not mistaken, or BF3, boron trifluoride. Ayan, yun pala yun. Boron trifluoride. What is boron trifluoride? Well, kahit sabihin natin meron siyang polar na individual three polar individual bonds, yung boron to fluorine, because imagine ninyo parang ito ay halimbawa yung fluorine ay mga individual people of the same height and weight and nag-input sila ng same force dito sa gitna na may hinahatak silang something else, ang resultant vector ay magka-cancel out lamang kahit tatlo sila kasi equal forces ang humahatak dun sa boron. So, even if there are 3 individual polar bonds, all dipoles will cancel and no net dipole will be experienced by the molecule. Thus, this is considered as a non-polar molecule. Okay, next. We also take a look at ammonia as an example. If we take a look at ammonia, pwede din niyang sabihin guys na, sir, parang katulad lang yun ng boron trifluoride, di ba? Magka-cancel lang din yung dipole. Yes, kung ang titingnan nyo lang ay yung bonds, no? Yung atom-to-atom interaction. But then again, kaya ingat kayo, lalo na sa OrgChem kasi may mga times na hindi nagdo-drawing ng electron pairs ang mga tao or even yung instructors. So ano ang instructors or yung instruction sa exam? So anong problem pag ganun? Nalilimutan natin na merong electron pair, nalilimutan nating i-account kung merong possibility of a net dipole. And because in reality, meron yang electron cloud na ganyan kalaki, kahit sabihin nyo pang mag-cancel yung tatlo dito sa taas, meron namang isang malaking net dipole na humahatak dito sa taas, nandito yung dalawang electrons niyan. There are 3 polar bonds and one big electron cloud that would contribute to the pulling or a dipole moment. All dipoles would reinforce, actually ang net dipole pataas nga, papunta doon sa electron cloud. This is considered to be a polar molecule. Okay? Ganun din guys, when it comes to dichloromethane. Ito, tandaan nyo to kasi in other references, medyo evil ang pagkakadrawing dyan. Bakit po evil, sir? Kasi parang ang pinapakita nila ay, ang drawing ay ganito. Yung Cl, nasa plane parehas, yung Cl, tapos yung dalawang hydrogens, yun nasa wedge and dash. So parang yung iba, in-argue nila na, oh sir, ito po yung symmetry. Tapos magka-cancel dito yung dalawang dipole moments. So ito yung net dipole. Magka-cancel po sila, yan ay non-polar. Hindi. Bakit? Kasi, syempre, again, may hila dito. Itong dalawang hydrogens ito, hindi yan mahihila. Very notorious ito na lumalabas na item na to sa exams. Bakit? Kasi ang DCM, inaakala nila dahil symmetrical na molecule, non-polar na din. But no. The 2 polar bonds, as you see right here, yung resultant vector nila, the net dipole reinforces. And therefore, dichloromethane is said to be a polar molecule. Actually, itong DCM na yan, very common siya sa organic chemistry labs. Bakit? Common organic solvent siya. Diba? Used for extraction and other purposes. Next would be this one, tetrachloromethane. Ayan, walang duda na yan, kahit sabihin mong meron kang 4 na polar bonds, since pare-parehas yan ng bonds, all the dipole moments will cancel, resulting to a no net dipole, and therefore, we can say that this is a non-polar molecule. Okay? Hopefully guys, malinaw sa atin itong pag-a-assign, pagde-designate ng net dipole moment because crucial siya kapag nagtatanong about polarity. Okay? And guys, kung kayo ay magka-chemistry boards ngayong 2026, mahalaga ang konsepto ng polarity kasi sa ANAChem, usually tinatanong din siya kahit sabihin mong hindi yan orgchem kasi kapag tayo ay nagsasagot, say for example, sa mga chromatographic methods, dinedetermine yung polarity. And kung kayo ay hindi masyadong well-versed dito sa portion ng organic chemistry na to at you get caught off guard, sayang. No? Kasi nag-a-arrange kayo ng parang what will be eluted first? Ganyan. So, ang tinitingnan doon ay polarity. Hopefully, kayo ay mag-focus dito sa ganitong types of questioning kasi high yield itong mga ganitong uri ng topic. No? Very common siya. Kasi very much employed sa laboratory as techniques yung simple way of knowing kung polar ba o non-polar ang molecule. Okay? Okay. We're down to third to the last outline sa ating topic, which would be functional groups. Okay? Anong meron sa ating functional groups? Well, marami. No? Bakit? Kasi napaka-importante nito because a functional group is a specific atom or groups of atoms within a molecule that is responsible for its characteristic chemical reactions and physical properties. I have listed here below yung anim sa pinaka-common na functional groups, pero ito yung pinaka-gamit na gamit talaga natin. Okay? I got this from, I think, compound interest. Yes, gamit na gamit yan. Pwede ninyong gamitin itong material na ito, itong reference na ito sa pagre-review ninyo. Bakit? I personally use this as well because it's very convenient in a way na yung mga colors designated to this ay nagagamit natin for lumping together yung mga mahahalaga na functional groups. Say for example, alkenes, alkenes, and alkynes may be classified as hydrocarbons, no? Yes, para siyang naka-flashcard, no? Simple oxygen heteroatomics such as alcohols, ethers, and epoxides. Bakit ang tawag sa kanila ay simple oxygen heteroatomics? Isa-isihin natin yung term. Simple kasi maliliit lamang sila na molecules. Oxygen because their they are oxygen-containing compounds, and heteroatomic because oxygen is a heteroatom. Kaya ang alcohols, ethers, and epoxides are called simple oxygen heteroatomics. Okay? Meron naman itong haloalkane. Yan ay merong halogen-based. No? Ano ang halogens? Fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine. Next would be carbonyl compounds. Perhaps ito ang pinaka-importante at pinakamalaking subgroup or subcategory ng functional groups. Nade-divide sila further into two groups, yung aldehydes and ketones and carboxylic acids and derivatives. Kahit sabihin nyo guys na parehas na carbonyl containing compounds yung pito na yan, magkaiba ang reactivity ng aldehydes and ketones sa carboxylic acid derivatives. Kasi ang aldehydes and ketones, they would undergo nucleophilic addition reactions, while your carboxylic acid and your other derivatives would undergo nucleophilic acyl substitution reactions. Okay? Again, kung gusto niyo malaman more of this, enroll na kayo sa Upstep. Okay? Ayan. We will explore this together. Okay? Ito namang mga pink color natin na molecules. These are nitrogen-based molecules, namely amines, nitriles, imines, isocyanates, and azo compounds. Second to the last would be thiols. Thiols ang tawag sa kanila because they are sulfur-containing compounds that are analogs of alcohols. Kaya thiols ang tawag. Okay? And lastly, aromatic compounds are also called arenes. Okay? Yan. Ang base nila ay benzene ring. Okay? So, yan. Okay. We now proceed to the intermolecular forces of attraction. In other books, they are also called non-covalent interactions or non-bonded interactions. These are interactions that exist between molecules. Kaya intermolecular forces of attraction. Kapag intramolecular forces of attraction kasi magkaiba yon, within the molecule yon. Pero kapag intermolecular forces of attraction, between molecules, no? Ayan. And guys, ang mahalaga ditong malaman ay meron tayong tatlong pinakamahalagang IMFA. Okay? Namely, the van der Waals forces, the dipole-dipole interactions, and the hydrogen bonding interactions. Okay? When we say van der Waals forces, lahat merong van der Waals forces of attraction. Okay? In other books, they would call this London dispersion forces. Okay? Or LDF. So kapag ganito guys, interchangeable sila, baka malito kayo or hanapin niyo sa exam. See for example, pwedeng yan ang gamiting term. Lahat ng compounds, they virtually have VDW or LDF. Okay? Polar molecules on the other hand, I hope by now we are enabled. Alam na natin paano mag-determine ng polar molecules. Matik kapag mayroong polarity, they contain dipole-dipole interactions or we can abbreviate them as DDI. Okay? And lastly, kapag hydrogen bonding, actually guys, fun fact dito, ang hydrogen bonding is a subcategory of dipole-dipole interactions. Ang kakaiba lang sa hydrogen bonding is that a hydrogen bonding can only occur if a hydrogen atom is directly attached to what I call personally FON. Okay, yun yung aking mnemonic, FON. Either fluorine, oxygen, or nitrogen. Okay? Okay. So, ito ang ating examples, no? Nakatabulate. Makikita natin, guys, na yung relative strength ng van der Waals weak, DDI, moderate, hydrogen bonding, strong. No? Sino ang nag-exhibit or ano ang nag-exhibit ng molecules ng van der Waals? Lahat. DDI, ano ang nag-exhibit ng molecules? Yung merong net dipole or yung polar molecules. Ano ang nag-exhibit ng hydrogen bonding? Yung meron lamang, yung mga molecules lamang na may hydrogen at yung hydrogen ay directly attached sa NOF. Ano yung NOF? Yung nitrogen, oxygen, or fluorine. Okay? Okay. And guys, paki-take note, as you can see sa note natin below, yung increasing strength of intermolecular forces ay from van der Waals to dipole-dipole to hydrogen bonding. Okay? So guys, pag pinarank kayo mamaya, ano kaya ang merong increasing or highest IMFA? Hanapin nyo na agad kung ano yung merong hydrogen bonding. Tapos kapag lowest, usually, ang meron lang nun na IMFA ay VDW or LDF. Okay? Ayan. O yan, ito na guys. Rank the following compounds in order of increasing strength of IMFA. Pentane, 1-butanol, and butanal. Ano kaya ang tamang ranking? Pinakakaunti daw or pinakamababa na IMFA, pentane, then 1-butanol, then butanal. Letter B, butanal, then 1-butanol, then pentane. Letter C, 1-butanol, then butanal, then pentane. And letter D, pentane, then butanal, then 1-butanol. Okay, let me repeat. Rank the following compounds in order of increasing strength of intermolecular forces. Pentane, 1-butanol, and butanal. A would be pentane, 1-butanol, and then butanal. B, butanal, 1-butanol, then pentane. C, 1-butanol, butanal, and then pentane. And letter D, pentane, butanal, and then 1-butanol. Okay? Answers in. Salamat sa inyong mga answers. Mukhang pare-parehas ang answers ng ating participants. Tama ba lahat ng sagot ninyo? Let us see. Yes, it's letter D. Okay? Ngayon, anong rationale doon? Well, ang pentane kasi, ang IMFA lang na present dyan ay VDW. No? Ang butanal, as an aldehyde, meron niyang VDW and DDI. Pero ang butanol, siya ang merong greatest IMFA because it contains VDW, DDI, and H bonding. Okay? Very good. Very good tayo. Now, we have reached the final subtopic of this evening session, which is the physical properties of our organic molecules. So, the strength of a compound's intermolecular forces determines many of its physical properties, including its boiling point, melting point, and solubility. So, iisa-isahin natin. Pag boiling point, guys, pakinote, meron tayong 4 na tinitingnan, no? Na trends. Technically speaking, boiling point is the temperature at which a liquid is converted into gas. The stronger the IMFA, the higher the boiling point. Bakit? Kasi syempre kapag mas stronger yung intermolecular forces of attraction, mas mahirap i-break ang bonds, therefore mas mahirap siyang i-boil. Okay? Or mas mahirap pag hiwa-hiwalayin yung molecules i-convert into its gaseous phase. Okay? Next, the larger the surface area, the higher the boiling point. This makes sense kasi mas maraming contact sa surface, mas mahirap i-vaporize. Okay? You would need a greater amount of energy input in order for us to vaporize or turn this substance into its gaseous state. Okay? Number 3, the more polarizable the atoms, the higher the boiling point. Polarizability basically is related to the size of the atoms, in which kapag mas malaki kasi yung electron cloud, mas madali siyang ma-distort. And pag mas madaling ma-distort, the higher the boiling point. Number 4, the less volatile the liquid, the higher the BP. Guys, paki-take note ito kasi ito yung usually, I still remember, this got asked no sa exam, and sinabi doon na parang it has something to do with volatility, and kadalasan siyang natatanong sa exam because hindi siya counterintuitive, pero out of the 4 trends in boiling point, siya yung inversely proportional doon sa boiling point. Bakit? Kasi kapag sinabi nating less volatile yung liquid, hindi siya ganon kadaling i-convert into gaseous phase, so higher the boiling point. No? Be careful sa mga gitong items sa exam kasi ito yung nakakalito. Okay? Pwedeng itanong yan sa exam ulit. Next, melting point. Melting point is basically the temperature at which a solid is converted to its liquid phase. And there are 2 trends. The stronger the IMFA, the higher the melting point. This also makes sense kasi syempre converting a solid into a liquid would require greater energy kung stronger ang IMFA, and therefore mas tataas din ang kanyang melting point. And eto guys, paki-take note. I could not underscore enough na kapag melting point ang tinitignan, dapat tinitingnan mo rin ang symmetry ng molecule. Because the more symmetrical the compound, the higher the melting point. Why po, sir, you might ask? It's because of the packing of the molecules. Kapag mas maganda ang arrangement ng atoms or ng molecules rather sa ating sa ating, say, reaction vessel or sa ating, kung saan man natin siya nilalagay, mas arranged, mas mahirap sirain, therefore, mas tataas ang melting point. And lastly, solubility. This is the extent to which a compound dissolves in a liquid. Ano ang rule natin na ginagamit ito? Like dissolves like. Wherein a polar compound dissolves its kapwa polar compound, and yung non-polar compounds would dissolve their kapwa non-polar compounds. Ano? Okay. So, sige nga guys, sagutin natin to. I would wait for your answers on the chat box. Sa A, B, C, and D, ang sagot nyo lang ay 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Ang tanong ay, which compound in each pair has the higher boiling point? I would expect na meron kayong 4 na letters na isasagot, no? Either 1 or 2 lang. Pakisagutan yung A to D, no? So, unahin natin yung letter A. Meron tayong, ano yung dalawang yan? Well, if you check, look carefully, this one is an alkene, this one is what? A ketone. Because an alkene is, it only contains VDW, no? Yung ketone natin, meron niyang VDW and DDI. Because meron niyang DDI, yan ay merong higher boiling point. Okay? So dapat, ang sagot ninyo sa letter A ay number 2. Okay? Or yung ketone natin. Okay? Okay. Next. Letter B. Ano ang functional group niyan? Meron tayong COOH. Yan ay carboxylic acid. At ito, ano yan? Meron tayong COO. Yan ay what? Ester. No? Ester. Well, parehas sila. Meron silang BDW. Parehas silang merong heteroatoms, oxygens more specifically. Meron yang DDI parehas. But the ultimate question would be, meron ba silang hydrogen bonding parehas? Yung 2, wala kasi ester yan. Pero yung carboxylic acid, dahil meron siyang hydrogen directly attached to an oxygen atom, yan ay merong hydrogen bonding. Because merong hydrogen bonding, ang 1 ng ating letter B, yung ating number 1 yung sagot. Okay? Now, how about letter C? Ito, guys, parehas silang alkanes if you think about it, no? Pero etong C1, ano yan? Hexane, no? Kasi meron siyang 6 carbons. Etong pangalawa, C2, meron siyang ito ay heptane. Meron kang 7 carbons. Ngayon, ano ang titignan natin na parameter bukod sa functional group katulad ng sa A and B? Pwede nating tingnan yung surface area. Because heptane is slightly longer, mas mahaba ng 1 unit longer ang ating letter 2. Letter 2. Number 2 sa letter C, ang sagot natin ay yung heptane. Okay? And for letter D, if we take a look at it, parehas sila na alkene, parehas sila actually na vinyl halides, no? Because if we are to draw this, anong itsura niyan? C, yan ay meron yang hydrogen, 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 Cl. Ito naman, ganun din, hydrogen, 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 pero iodine. Ano ang may higher boiling point? Ang may higher boiling point dito ay number 2, D2. Bakit po? Kasi, guys, yung chlorine, yung iodine rather, is bigger than chlorine atom, and because it is bigger than chlorine atom, mas polarizable yung ating iodine. Therefore, it would have a much higher boiling point compared to our vinyl chloride. Okay? Ito ay vinyl, pangalanan natin, vinyl chloride. Ito yung ating vinyl iodide. Okay? So, ang ating final answer ay 2122. Okay? Yan. Medyo nagkakaiba na yung answers from the chat box. Okay lang yan. That means meron tayong points to improve kasi humihirap na yung topic. But nonetheless, malayo pa naman ang exam. Pwede nating i-work on yan sooner or later para maging confident tayo sa parating natin na exam. Okay? Ayan ang answers. 2122. Okay? Thank you for your answers. Ito, another set of questions. Letter A, gawa lang tayo ng designations 1 or 2. Predict which compound in each pair has the higher melting point. For letter A, would it be 1 or 2? And for letter B, would it be 1 or 2? Okay? Sige nga, paki-answer po sa chat box. Ano kaya ang magiging answers ninyo? Well, if we take a look at letter A, no, ito ay alkane. Yung isa ay amine. Because itong alkane natin ay meron lamang van der Waals forces, pero ang ating amine ay merong van der Waals, merong dipole-dipole, at meron din yan, actually, hydrogen bonding. Walang duda. Number 2 ang sagot sa letter A. Okay? Now, how about letter B? No? Letter B, kung tapansinin natin, parehas yan na 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 carbon containing molecule. Okay? Pero, saan sila nagkakatalo? Sa surface area. Ngayon, guys, some may argue na ang sagot po sa letter B ay yung 2 kasi higher melting point kasi higher surface area. But guys, ang surface area usually ay tinitingnan for boiling point. Anong tinitingnan pag melting point? Symmetry, as we have mentioned earlier. So, because B is more symmetric compared to your B2, no? Yung number 2 ng ating letter B, our answer should be letter number 1. So, here are the answers. Okay? Yan, yung amine and then yung symmetric na alkane. Okay? Thank you for your answers. Mukhang tama naman. Hindi naman pala nilito ang mga ating students. Very good po sa inyo. Okay. So, na-reveal na agad. Wala nang question. Nandito na agad ang sagot, no? Tignan natin, ano ba ang tinatanong? Which compounds are water soluble? Well, guys, if we take a look at A, this one is diethyl ether, no? This one is fairly soluble pa. Bakit? Kasi it has carbon that is less than or equal to 5 carbons. Kapag hindi pa ganun karami ang carbons, it would be water soluble pa. With letter B, since masyado na siyang maraming carbons at wala na siyang heteroatom na polar in nature, hindi yan magiging water soluble. Ito naman, yung number 3, this is a tertiary amine. As indicated by the structure, meron kang 1, 2, 3, 4. No? Butyl. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ganyan ang kanyang structure. Yan. But then again, guys, even if you would argue with me na, sir, yung ating tertiary amine na ito, meron naman siyang polar na portion, di po ba? Kasi meron kang lone pair dito. Yes. But if you take a look, guys, take a look at the portion of 3 portions of this molecule, masyadong malaki na overpower niya yung polar portion ng ating amine. Therefore, hindi rin yan magiging water-soluble na kasi hindi na sterically accessible para sa ating water molecules yung ating nitrogen. Okay? Yan. Okay. Tingnan natin ngayon, reactivity of functional groups. Again, a functional group also determines reactivity. Functional groups create reactive sites in molecules. Guys, ito ang tatandaan ninyo. Kasi kadalasan, kahit hindi nyo pa alam kung ano yung mga specific na reactions na nangyayari sa organic chemistry, basta alam ninyo yung functional group kung paano siya nagre-react in a general manner, meron na kayong idea kung paano siya ipo-pull off. Okay? Lalo na kapag mag-arrow pushing, no? Basahin natin isa-isa. An electronegative heteroatom like nitrogen, oxygen, or a halogen makes a carbon electrophilic. Bakit? Kasi if we take a look at the an example halimbawa, no? So, meron tayong halimbawa structure na ganyan. Yan. Because your halogen is fairly electronegative, pwede siyang i-declare na partial negative. Yung carbon niyan magiging partially electropositive. And with that, yung carbon na ito ginagawa mong electrophilic. Ngayon, kung meron kang nucleophile later on, ano ulit ang electrophiles? Yung mga electron poor sites or electron poor atoms. Because your carbon is an electron poor atom, no? It is electrophilic. Ngayon, kapag meron kang nucleophile na inad sa reaction vessel mo, ano ang nucleophiles? Electron-rich species. Ang prone to attack ay yung electrophilic carbon mo. Okay? So yun, guys, basically, kapag ganito, meron ka ng clue. Okay, ang site of reactivity, yung carbon. Yung carbon na directly attached sa halogen natin kasi siya ay electrophilic. Kasi pinupull ng electron density ng halogen yung sa carbon dapat sana, originally. No? And nabanggit natin, ito, a lone pair on a heteroatom makes it basic and nucleophilic. And lastly, pi bonds create nucleophilic sites and are more easily broken than sigma bonds. Okay? Nabanggit na natin kanina that an electron deficient carbon atom reacts with a nucleophile symbolized as Nu-. Usually meron talagang lone pair to signify na merong ito ay electron-rich species at ang electrophile naman ay symbolized as E+ kasi siya ay electron deficient species. But ito ay generalizations lamang, itong symbols na to, because not all nucleophiles are necessarily negatively charged and not all electrophiles are necessarily positively charged. But what I could tell you guys is that kapag sinabi nating nucleophile, from the term itself, nucleophile, nucleus-loving, so positive center-loving, sila ay electron-rich species. Kasi gusto nila ng positive centers. Ang electrophiles naman, electron-loving, meaning if they are electron-loving, they are electron-poor. Okay? And electron-poor species, while positively charged species are electron-poor species, hindi lahat ng hindi na positively charged ay hindi na pwedeng maging electron-poor. At hindi lahat ng hindi negatively charged ay hindi na pwedeng maging electron-rich. Okay? Okay. So, guys, let's take a look at this. Last activity natin for this evening. Considering only electron density, state whether the following reactions will occur. Let's take a look at this. Well, again, nasabi na natin kanina na kapag halimbawa meron kang halogen directly attached to a carbon, that halogen makes our carbon electrophilic. So ito ay merong partial positive na charge. Ngayon, since this is OH minus hydroxide, yan, ito, panigurado, nucleophile yan, no? At itong carbon, yan ay electrophile, merong mangyayaring reaction. Bakit? Well, ang tinatanong lang naman, state whether the following reactions will occur kapag meron kang combination ng isang electrophile at isang nucleophile, may mangyayaring reaction talaga siya. Okay? Pero kung meron kang dalawang electrophile at dalawang nucleophile, or electrophile lamang, walang nucleophile, and vice versa, hindi pwedeng mangyari yung reaction. So with letter A, mangyayari yan. Okay? More specifically, a-attack ang OH doon sa, halimbawa, ito ay carbon A, ito ay carbon B. A-attack kay carbon B. Okay? Next, B. Thank you. Sige, pwede na kayong mag-input ng answers. B, sabi rito, merong nag-type in sa ating chat box. B will not occur since they are both nucleophiles. Let's take a look at this. Well, truly, your bromide ion is a nucleophile. It is electron-rich because of its negatively charged, because it is a negatively charged ion. Ngayon, again, nabanggit natin kanina na not all neutral species are tawag dito, hindi dahil hindi siya negatively charged species, hindi na pwedeng maging nucleophile or electrophile. And because this molecules, more specifically this 2-butene, is electron-rich, ito ay nucleophile din. Ano? And tama yung comment sa chat box dahil tayo ay merong dalawang combination, may combination of dalawang nucleophiles, the reaction will not happen. Or pwede nating ekisan yung ating arrow. Okay? Yes. Very good. Pwede ding NR yung ilagay. Or in the first place, hindi magpo-proceed yung reaction. Okay? Very good. Next, how about letter C? Will this reaction occur? Well, meron tayo, again, na electrophile with our carbonyl carbon. Bakit? Kasi hinihigit actually nung carbonyl oxygen and ng ating halogen yung electron density ng ating carbonyl carbon. So ito yung ating electrophile at yung ating negative OCH3, no, methoxide. This is because negatively charged siya. Pwede nating sabihin nucleophile yan, a-attack din yan dito sa ating carbonyl carbon, and therefore the reaction will proceed. Okay? How about letter D? Anong mangyayari dito? Well, nasabi na natin, ang 2-butane kanina ay nucleophile. Why? Because it is electron rich. And this bromide cation, as a cation, it is an electrophile. So, will the reaction happen? Yes, because this is a combination of a nucleophile and an electrophile. So, check. Okay? Let us reveal the answers. Ayan ang galing sa aking answer key, no? Mangyayari yung A, C, and D, yung letter B lang ang hindi because both are considered to be nucleophiles. Okay? Ayan. So, all in all, nagkaroon tayo ng 15 questions, 15 activities this evening. Hopefully, nakatulong sa inyo yon. This is the summary of all the subtopics we have mentioned this evening. We learned the technical definition of organic chemistry as well as the common features, yung apat. We also learned how to draw the 4 most common organic structures, no? Yung formulae na yon. We also learned about sp3, sp2, and sp hybridization, as well as the bond lengths and bond strengths na trends. Electronegativity sa periodic table, and bond polarity ng bond polarity and polarity ng molecules as well. We learned about functional groups, the most common functional groups in organic chemistry, yung intermolecular forces of attraction, namely yung ating van der Waals, ating dipole-dipole interaction, at yung ating hydrogen bonding. And lastly, we learned about the physical properties of organic molecules, yung ating basically, yung ating boiling point, melting point, and ating solubility. Okay? And with that, we would like to thank you for attending this evening session. Kung meron po kayong questions, pwede po ninyong ilapag sa ating chat box. We will kindly address those questions kung meron pong hindi clear on your end. Thank you po.
Alright, guys. Kung may questions kayo, palapag na lang sa chat or raise your hand para ma-address ni sir. Ayan, Sir Richard, may question from Vincent.
Okay, so there's a question in here from Sir Vincent Jans. Can you arrange in increasing order the strengths of virtually every intramolecular and intermolecular forces? Pwede ko pong isend sa inyo to. We can be connected through Messenger. As of now, maganda na i-check ko po ito sa aming manual. Hindi ko po kasi memorize yung intramolecular forces, lahat ng intramolecular forces and lahat ng intermolecular forces. But what I can say is for intermolecular forces of attraction, ito ay yung nilist down natin kanina na VDW, DDI, and hydrogen bonding. Ngayon, hindi ko po kayang magbitaw ng basically fine parang fine line or consolidated form kasi depende sa kung ano ang gusto nating pag-usapan eh. Merong ion-ion interaction, merong ion-dipole, merong dipole-dipole. Ayan. So usually merong 6 to 7 na interactions kapag intermolecular forces. Tapos kapag intramolecular forces, magkaiba din yun. And usually po, ang merong stronger forces of attraction would be the intramolecular forces. Kapag naman po kasi sinabi nating intramolecular forces of attraction, tatlo lamang naman po yun kadalasan. Ang mangyayari po ay ang order of strength ay ionic, then I'm not sure kung metallic, then covalent, but tatlo lang po yun kadalasan. Kapag intramolecular forces of attraction, I will repeat, ionic, covalent, and metallic. Tapos doon po sa ating intermolecular forces of attraction, usually anim yun. Ion to ion, dipole, ion dipole bonding, ion dipole, hydrogen bonding, dipole, and then ito pong ating VDW or LDF. Ayun. So hopefully, na sagot ko po yung inyong question. I will have to recheck our resources, but on the top of my head, yun po ang aking masasagot. 3 from intramolecular forces and 5 from intermolecular forces. Yun. Hopefully, na-answer po namin ang question ni Sir Vincent. Meron pa po bang ibang questions?
Alright, so since 9 p.m. na rin naman and wala nang questions, thank you so much, Sir Rickson, for that very insightful and informative session. And of course, thank you rin sa ating participants for spending your time and pagiging sobrang engaging natin with this review session. Sana marami kayong natutunan. Before we end, quick interaction type, thank you sa chat or you can send hearts sa ating Facebook Live if you enjoyed the session. Yan. Thank you, Sir Rickson.
Thank you so much then guys. Hopefully marami kayong natutunan, and if you would like more interactions from us, you may follow our page, follow and like our page, and kung napapanood nyo nyo na yung iba naming mga lecture sessions, hopefully marami na kayo natututunan, and hindi pa kami tapos. I think meron pa kaming last session from Sir Kim Bolandos naman tomorrow evening if you are available. Ayun.
Yes.
Check aming page for more updates.
Tuloy-tuloy pa rin yan hanggang bukas, Monday, May 4, 7 to 9 p.m. pa rin. So, let's make sure to attend. Consistency is key. And also, don't forget to answer our feedback form. Very helpful po ito for us to improve. Alright, that's it for tonight. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Sir Rickson.
Thank you
Good
guys.
night.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.